KDUS Tempe Phoenix and KSLX HD2 Scottsdale Phoenix.
Coming right up, another fun varsity sports show.
In 2019, the JV Sports Show podcast began with the idea of spotlighting young people in our community. In time, that podcast evolved into radio, television, and live stream, and through that evolution, new ideas have enhanced delivery, giving a stage to students both in front of and behind the microphone in Arizona and beyond. Thank you for supporting the Varsity Sports Show, now the Varsity Media Foundation, a 501c3 educational organization.
Hey, this is Sophie, and you're listening to my dad, Vince. Dad, you owe me $20 now.
Hi, kids. This is DJ Soulman from the Funk Junkies, and you're listening to the Varsity Sports Show with my man, Vince Delicio. And what's your last name?
It's Delicio.
Okay, that's right. That's what I thought. Yeah, right.
AM 1060 KDUS Tempe Phoenix and KSLX HD2 Scottsdale Phoenix.
This program is paid for by the Varsity Media Foundation, a 501c3 nonprofit educational organization, and its partners.
You're listening to the Varsity Sports Show, home of Arizona's youth, high school, college sports, and you, empowering education and enabling dreams, right here on KDUS AM 1060 in Arizona. And now, welcome to the Varsity Sports Show.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Varsity Sports Show on AM 1060 KDUS Arizona. My name is Vince Delicio, and I am live. Of course I'm live. I am at Mountain America Stadium. It sounds weird saying that. They must have written a big check to ASU. Mountain America Stadium here at in Sun Devil country, host site of today's the only game that matters, literally the only game that matters. I am joined this morning by two of the most important figures in Sun Devil history, Sun Devil football history, athletics history. Knapp Lawrence, his son Spike Lawrence. Knapp, Spike, good morning to you both. Thank you so much for joining me.
We're more than honored that you invited us, and go Devils.
Yeah,
wow.
Thanks, Vince. Thanks for having us.
I got to tell you guys, first of all, if it wasn't for you guys, I wouldn't be back in this building because they said they never let me back in here since I left. But I'm back. And we are here. We're actually high atop on the sixth. They call this the sixth floor. We're a couple of 100 feet up. If you've ever seen that iconic photo of Pat Tillman sitting on the top of the lights, way back in the day, we're parallel with those lights. I mean, you look across the field, and the lights are right in front of us. That's how high we are. We're in the press box. We are in the same press box that I used to sit with the coaches when I was here, when I was a graduate assistant here from 95 to 97, and that seat is where I used to sit, and Max Ragsdale, who's the athletic director now, he was a graduate assistant with me, and Bill Denny, we were GAs here. Max Ragsdale is the athletic director at Campo Verde High School now, but we used to sit next to each other, and we would run down the hall, and we'd steal sandwiches out of the freezer, and we'd come up here and eat during pregame, and then we put our headsets on, and we would monitor the game, and we talk to the guys down on the field throughout the game, and then next to us, this is where the Fox Sports Arizona, the brand new network that Barry Tompkins and Danny White used to broadcast for, and they would face us in the next box over because of this glass here. We could see them, and every time we'd score, we'd sit here and knock on the windows, and then they would just shake their heads and get disgusted, and Danny White would laugh at us. But anyway, so we're up here. And we're just having a great time this morning. We've got a big show today. We're joined by no fewer than 8 former Sun Devils, and there's a reason why you guys are here. Besides the fact that you guys let me in this morning, you're here, you're co-hosting because you're kind of tying everything together. And the first thing that I wanted to do before we really start to talk about some of our guests, I'm going to name drop a few people. Nathan Laduke, Ron Sowers, Kelvin Fisher, Jeff Van Raaphorst, Kyle Murphy, Rudy Carpenter, J.R. Redmond, Keith Poole, before we get to those guys, Knapp, you have a story. You've been here for a lot of years. You went to school here. You grew up nearby down the road in Eloy, and there was this thing in the 1950s called Proposition 200. What was Prop 200?
It was enormous. It was a statewide election. I don't think even we've had a presidential election that drew more barroom talk than that one. And the state of Arizona, it was used to one university, and the U of A people who graduated from there and who live in Tucson, or the ones that came back to Phoenix, they were all the lawyers and doctors. And we had a bunch of us school teachers and that type of thing at that time.
Yeah.
And so we fought very, very hard, and we won 2-1 the election to become a university. And now we're the largest university in the United States.
Isn't that something? Spike, when you think about that and how your dad was in the middle of the storm, he was an undergraduate here, but he followed that stuff very closely because back then, was Frank Cush the football coach at the time? This was late 50s, right? Or was it Dan Devine?
The year we graduated from Eloy High School was 1957, and Dan Devine beat the U of A 57-0.
Wow.
And that made my decision easy. Before, I was a big fan of both schools.
Right.
And when I saw that, and I came to Arizona State, and then I also immediately tried to get into ROTC, which I did, and was able to raise the flag so I could stand on the field for football games.
See, there's always a catch.
Yeah,
You always had a catch
and
there.
I could have gone military my
Sure.
whole life, except I couldn't stand at attention for over an hour down in that Tempe shopping center during a festivity.
So so this all happened when you were an undergraduate. Spike, you attended ASU in the 80s, late 80s, early 90s. When you think back of some of the things politically that your dad was involved with as an undergraduate, what were you thinking about when you were an undergraduate here?
It's a family show. Yeah, I had a great time and just lived right through playing on a high school football team, rooting hard for the Devils and just watching that streak.
Yeah.
It just was, it was so tough to go through the streak.
It's 9 years.
Yeah, it was brutal. And then I was a true freshman at ASU with Nathan Laduke and Scott Woodford and Shane Collins. And Kelvin Fisher came a year later. And we just some great buddies and great memories.
Devil's Tail.
Yeah. And then started an ASU sports newspaper called The Devil's Tail.
Wow.
So I could get on the field. Dad held the flag for
see,
ROTC.
there you go.
I started a newspaper so I could sit on press
What do
row.
you think I need to do to get on the field? I know I'm a little older than you guys were as undergraduates there, but Knapp, help me out. What can I do?
It's too late.
Okay. Well, at least you're honest. My gosh. Well, so Prop 2. Now, the guys down south in Tucson did not want that to pass, right? That was a big thing back then, Knapp, right?
Of course, and had it been on the shoe been on the other foot, we would have felt the same way.
Well, that's true.
It was a tough deal, and we, because of that, we started out tremendously successful against the U of A virtually in all sports.
Yeah.
And then all at once, after a certain time, I'm not going to mention who was head coach or anything like that,
right.
But all at once they started beating us in damn near everything.
Oh.
And it was called the Revenge Decade.
Oh.
And I think the best job they ever did was with that great defense in the 80s.
Yeah.
I forget what they call them, the Devils.
Desert Swarm.
Desert
I think,
Swarm.
Yeah.
And I remember one time early when we went to Camp Arizona every year, and I'd go from high school, I'd go up there just to watch. I wasn't good enough to play in it.
Yeah.
But I went to it every year. And this one year, we had of the top 6 players in the state, 5 of them committed to Arizona State. One was a linebacker out of South High.
Okay.
Or South Mountain
High School, okay.
That went to the U of A, and I'll be damned if he didn't single-handedly win the All-Star game.
Wow.
And then
Byron
when we
Evans.
played him on
Byron
the field,
Evans, yeah.
Byron Evans, he had a career against Arizona State, but a lot of that was the revenge thing.
Yeah.
Because we had. And that's what we're hoping will happen tonight or this afternoon.
Back then, it was a little bit easier back then it was a little bit easier to meet families and things. The NC2A got involved because some people kind of took advantage of that opportunity to get out there and meet families and do a lot of outreach. You were very welcoming back then for many years. I mean, you used to travel, at times with some of these guys, and you met a lot of families too. How were you received?
Well, at ASU, I was received fine, but
Yeah.
I didn't do well when I'd go down to U of A. I remember one game when we went down, we're sitting with Patsy Brock, the baseball coach's wife.
Yeah, Jim Brock's wife, yeah.
And for pregame on-field.
Yeah.
And all at once I heard a shh, and I looked and heard a bang, and it was a railroad spike that went right by my ear and hit the back of the dugout down there and chipped it.
Oh, my God.
I thought, man, they're serious about this.
Yeah,
game.
yeah, I guess so. You made it out of there, obviously.
Yeah, then another
Okay.
year, I was on my way to a Rocky Point with 3 or 4 buddies to bass fish.
Yeah.
Not Rocky Point, but lower Mexico.
Okay.
And we were in my pickup, and it had all kinds of ASU stickers on it. And when I came out to get in to start driving down to Mexico,
yeah,
all the fishing gear was gone.
Oh, my God. Somebody ambushed
well,
you
I'll
guys.
tell you what, I don't
Yeah.
wear any maroon and gold
No,
when I go to Tucson
wise
anymore.
decision.
I think I'm still wanted.
Let's and speaking of that, let's bring on someone very special who was part of Spike's era. You mentioned his name a little earlier. You guys were roommates in college. Probably got a couple of stories. A different show, different time. We're going to do a special midnight edition of the Varsity Sports Show in a couple weeks, and we can tell those stories. But Nathan Laduke, he's Arizona State's favorite son. We're going to start him off first. So Nathan, how are you, sir?
Good morning, Vince. Good morning,
How do you?
Mav.
Yeah.
Spike, are you there as well?
I am here, Nate. How are you, my man?
You better keep your mouth shut.
There you go. Nathan Laduke. So, Nathan, we were going through, and today's theme was with all of our guests, favorite moments in this rivalry during your individual era. And I know you were part of that streak of unfortunately, part of that streak where the U of A kind of had the upper hand in a lot of those years. But your first year here, it was interesting. I read the summary of that game. It was a tie. It ended in a tie, and the big controversy was that Dick Tomey opted to kick a field goal to tie the game instead of going for the win. Talk a little bit about some of the moments of that game that you remember. I know it was your freshman year, but what do you remember about that 87 game?
Well, I'll just say that in all 4 of the games, that what I remember is that we always had a better roster. At least that was my perception at the time. And crazy, crazy things happened during those games that caused us to not win any of them. In the game when I was a freshman, we were handling them pretty well, and Eric Allen ended up getting an interception, which let us have the ball back with about a minute and change on it, and we proceed to run the clock down by just running the ball, and there's 13 seconds left on the clock. We call a timeout. What I remember of that is that there was some discussion as to when Mike Shue was going to actually, receive the punt snap. Like, are we going to take it? How far are we going to take down the 30-second clock? And there may have been a slight bit of confusion there, but I do remember that our long snapper was Eddie Grant, and he was an incredible long snapper. And, everything was perfect. I remember, though, a couple days later watching the television, viewing of it, and the announcer gave us the kiss of death when he said, right when Mike Shue's getting ready to punt, he said, Mike Shue has successfully handled 161 punt snaps. And, it's just like when you're watching a golf tournament and they say, Phil Mickelson has made 40 of 40 putts inside 5 feet, and then, of course, he misses,
He misses. Oh, wow.
Mike Shue ends up, mishandling the punt snap, and the ball kind of shoots away to the side. He's going to go try and recover it. Simultaneously, a U of A defender is getting ready to jump on it, and Mike, the only thing that he could do to not let that U of A defender get the ball was he kicked it. And so that was just his instinct, was to kick the ball out of bounds, which he did, but that was a penalty. And so not only did they get the ball back there, they got to march the ball half the distance to the goal. There was only 13 seconds left, so Vince, I don't know that that I would have gone for it either, because we were kind of shutting them down the majority of the day, so I don't think it was a great option for them. Yeah. And I felt like they had the same mentality that I did. We were the better team. Them getting a tie was like a win for them, and it was.
Well, they ended the season that year. They ended the season. You guys finished 6-5. They ended the season 4-4-3. I mean, you talk about 500 across the board. But I have one more question before we end the segment here. We've got about 30 seconds. Did you have a hand in wearing the gold uniforms 2 years later? Was that you?
It was. The only thing that I was the captain that year, and they came to us. Paul, Justin, and I were captains. They came to us and they said that that's what they were going to do. We didn't. That wasn't my idea to look like a bunch of bananas out there.
I love it. Anyway, all right, Nathan Laduke joining us to kick things off on the show here with Knapp and Spike Lawrence on Rivalry Day. Nathan, thanks so much for joining us. We're going to circle back with you and tell some more stories down the road, but we appreciate you jumping on this morning. Right. We'll talk to you later, man.
All right, take care, guys.
All right. Wow, Nathan Laduke, what a way to start the show. What else can we do after that? We might as well shut down and go home. What do you think? Guys, it's going to be an incredible day here. It's Rivalry Week on the Varsity Sports Show, live from Mountain America Stadium, high atop the stadium here in the press box, and joined by longtime Sun Devil supporters Knapp and his son Spike Lawrence. Thanks again for joining us this morning. We'll be right back after the break. Go Varsity.
Every Monday night, check out Ray Adams as he hosts the Monday Night Golf and Lifestyle Show from 6 to 7 p.m. here on KDUS AM 1060.
APAC is your one-stop source for all your automotive and heavy-duty air conditioning parts, supplies, and equipment. They're family-owned and have been the Valley's go-to for all your auto AC needs since 1982. Whether it's for your everyday or vintage car, commercial, or off-road vehicle or equipment, APAC has you covered. Call APAC, AAPAK, the AC experts at 602-254-1116 and ask for the Varsity Special to get 10% off your purchase. Training Better Athletes was founded by renowned football coach Ron Sowers with the philosophy of training well-rounded young people in mind and body. TBA is the go-to for middle schoolers through the pros. Coach Sowers has worked with all sports but specializes in football offensive and defensive line skills training. Whether it's one-on-one or group training, reach out to Coach Sowers at trainingbetterAthletes.com or call him at 602-435-9064. You can't cheat the grind. Hey, local businesses, join the Varsity Sports Show and promote your business on our weekly radio show and game live streams. We have several options to promote your business affordably and reach our incredible audience. Call, text, or email us anytime if you'd like more information on joining our team. The Varsity Sports Show will work hard to promote your business through our audio and video platforms while also promoting all of our young people. 480-779-9437 or email us at varsitysportshow.com. Hey guys, Vince here to talk about Angel Dentistry. It's where my wife and I have gone for over 10 years, and we trust them with our routine and extensive dental care because they care. Dr. Amber Angel is an Arizona native, born in the town of Miami, and has been practicing in the Valley over 20 years. For general to comprehensive dental services, call 602-788-2008. Located off of Cave Creek Road just north of the 101 in North Phoenix. Angel Dentistry, proud supporters of our young people and proud partners of the Varsity Sports Show.
Check out KDUS AM 1060 on 100.7 KSLX HD2. That's right, HD radio on 100.7 channel number 2.
Territorial Cup Day continues here on KDUS AM 1060 Arizona. You're listening to the Varsity Sports Show. I'm Ryan Sykora, and let's keep touching up on our rivalry history here today. This time, we take you back 65 years to 1958. It was an election year in State 48. And on the ballot, Prop 200, a piece of history that would change the course of the Arizona college school system and a rivalry on the gridiron. Let's meet our players. You have Arizona State College, looking to move university into its name from Tempe, and the University of Arizona from Tucson, hoping to hold on to their leg up on their Phoenician rivals. Newsflash, they didn't, as Prop 200 drew over 101,000 Maricopa County heavy yes votes. Just 51,000 Arizonans voted to kill the measure that would add a university to ASC. Pima County, Tucson, had 82,000 registered voters in 1958, as politicians estimated most of the 50K no votes came from the old Pueblo. So basically, they just didn't even have enough registered voters to outvote the ruling. It really is one of the Sun Devils' greatest victories over the Wildcats. And on the field, ASU was led by a first-year head coach. His name, Frank Joseph Cush. Cush felt his fledgling university was to be a football power, just as those in Pima County feared. Arizona was led by an eventual state legend of their own, Ed Doherty, whose team had led the all-time series to that point, 23-6. Doherty faced down Cush and stood tall, wearing a tie that tallied the phrase, "Beat Tempe," across it in 1958. Doherty did not beat Tempe. Arizona State, at the time number 15 in the country, won 47-7 and pretty much kick-started a run of control over the Cup that would last until the early 80s. Following Prop 200, until 1982, Arizona State won 18 out of the 24 meetings for the Cup. Still, the all-time series measures favorably for the Wildcats, 50-45-1, and this year, while there is no pending change in the state education world at the college level, the rivalry means more to millions, thanks to a Tempe turnout on voting yes.
Welcome back to the Varsity Sports Show. AM 1060 KDUS Arizona. Vince DeLisio joined live from Mountain America Stadium, high atop the stadium field in the press box with guest co-hosts today, Knapp and Spike Lawrence, longtime ASU Sun Devil supporters. We're joined on the line. We're going to go back a few years, and we're joined on the line by an old friend of our program that played for Frank Cush for a little while, played for Darryl Rogers for a few years. His name is Ron Sowers. He was an amazing, great offensive lineman, grew up here in the Valley, attended Mountain View High School, and he's been a longtime coach. They call him the O-line whisperer. Coach Sowers, good morning, sir.
Good morning, Vince. How are you, my brother?
Coach, I am joined by a couple of your old friends here that apparently know a lot about you that not a lot of people know. And I don't know if you're ready for this or not, but they're going to tell some stories. And Knapp Lawrence, Knapp, you got Ron on the phone here. Yeah,
we were very surprised. Coach Cush and I wanted to see him. He was our top line recruit in the state of Arizona. And we went out to the school and kind of barged our way into
Mountain View. And I can imagine for Coach Cush and Jesse Parker, cutting it up. Did they get along?
As long as they weren't playing football.
Okay.
But anyway, we went in, and I was amazed at how well the school treated
Coach Cush.
Well, Coach Cush and the person we're recruiting.
Yeah. Oh, yeah?
Yeah,
they put Ron on a bit of a pedestal back then,
yeah. Huh? I'm used to getting kicked out when I'd walk on a campus.
Yeah, wow.
And that school was all sports at the time, and they were the football power in Arizona.
Ron, do you remember?
Ronnie was a big part of that.
Do you remember, Ron, when these guys came to visit you on campus, when Coach Cush and Knapp set foot on campus to see you?
Oh, absolutely. It was an amazing day, and Mountain View was built. And, hey, Knapp, Spike, great to be on the program with you guys. Just terrific Sun Devils, great recruiters. I mean, these gentlemen have been the foundation of ASU for, 20, 25 years, been amazing. And we can't thank you enough for what both of you guys do for the program. But that day was really cool because Mountain View's library was centered in the two-story building. So it was like in the center of, 50 classrooms, right, built around it. And so they pulled me out of class to go to the library to meet up with Knapp and Coach. And it was crazy because when I walked in the library and, shook hands, sat down, by that time, every teacher had walked their class out to watch. That's how big a deal Frank Cush was.
Wow. So when you think back, now you're in the program, you're a couple of years in. Now Darryl Rogers is your head coach, I believe. Was it 1980 that he had stepped in? Because I know there was an interim, a gentleman by the name of Bob Owens in the interim that finished out the 79 season. Then 80 comes along, and you guys went down to the U of A. You went down to Tucson. It was storming. They talked about the rain that game. You guys took a commanding lead, 31-0 at half, went on to roll 44-7. What do you remember specifically about that game in 1980?
Well, a couple things. You got to back up to when Frank was there, and when we came in as freshmen, the first thing, our first meeting, Coach Cush talked about that team down south and how we will beat them into the ground, and that's the most important game, and then everything else flows from there. So, that's the mentality we had. Then Coach Rogers comes in, and there was still some of that, right? But we go down there that year and just kind of handled them. And I think Coach Rogers just, thought, what rivalry, right?
Yeah.
And, so it was a great game. Everything worked for us. Not much worked for them. And, it was a big celebration on the way back on the bus. No doubt about that. It was a great game for us.
Thinking back and now coming to modern day, growing up here in the Valley and being ingrained in this culture, what does this rivalry mean to you, and how can you express it to the next generation, to the young guys coming in that are a part of this program, maybe a lot of them that aren't even from here?
Well, I mean, it's a bottom line. It comes down to, you're either north or south, right? You're either ASU or U of A, and it's a healthy rivalry. It's a good rivalry. You can't become the program you want to become in Arizona unless you win this state in recruiting. And first, if you win the state, then you got a chance to go pick off some real, players from elsewhere. And that's when you start, getting the guys that you need to, compete for championships, compete for Pac-10 or now Big 12, whatever. But, it's about winning the state. If you win the state, then you have a chance to really become a national powerhouse. But if you don't win the state, forget about it, right? You're going to lose your fan base. And I'll tell you a funny story. So the year that Plummer's last game, regular season game, my brother bought me tickets. We took my son. He was about 5, Austin. We went down to the U of A. We got down there late, so our tickets weren't good. We were in the red section. And, so we're sitting down there, and we're watching the game, and I think it was 44 to something. We just pounded them. And guys were throwing popcorn at us. Yeah, it was bad. It was ugly. It was perfect.
Oh,
and then, so guys were throwing popcorn and ice at us. We'd turn around and go, "Let's go." They would sit. They wouldn't say anything, of course.
Yeah.
And after the game, we're driving home, and my son goes, "Hey, Dad." I go, "Yeah." Austin goes, "I got it. I'll hate him."
A 5-year-old kid. You started young. He started young. Wow. Yep, amazing.
He goes, he became a Sun Devil that day.
Amazing. Joined on the line by a legendary offensive line coach here in the Valley, Ron Sowers, who played here 1979 to 1983, was part of some great teams and part of the rivalry that really took care of business. Coach Sowers, thank you so much for joining us, and we look forward to circling back with you.
Appreciate it, gentlemen. Have a great day. Go Devils.
All right. Wow. Amazing. Guys, and once again, joined up here at Mountain America Stadium in the press box by guest co-hosts for this morning, Knapp and Spike Lawrence, longtime Sun Devils supporters. Forgive me. I keep wanting to say, and I said this and I laugh, I keep wanting to call you guys athletic supporters, but don't take offense, but you guys are. I mean, you're longtime supporters here of Sun Devil Athletics. So anyway, let's send it off to some amazing content from our amazing team. We have Dorian Zavala and Bennett Solomon. I'm sorry. We've got Parker Gurash talking about another rivalry. Go ahead, Aaron.
With it being rivalry week here on the Varsity Sports Show, there are many games all of us are looking at and are excited to watch this upcoming Saturday. A lot of us, since most of this internship goes to ASU, are going to be excited to go and watch ASU play one of the top 25 ranked teams in the country in the University of Arizona. But none are bigger from me than the Michigan Wolverines at home against the Ohio State University. For a lot of people, this is the game. And for these two schools, it is the game that they work all year for in preparation to dismantle and dominate one another. For the last 2 years, we've seen Michigan take down the Buckeyes on the Buckeyes home turf as well as in Ann Arbor, and we are back in Ann Arbor for the main event of college football on Saturday. The Wolverines have a 60-52-6 advantage in the all-time series. The Buckeyes are the most common opponent for the Wolverines, trailed closely by Michigan State. This is one of the most exciting things, I think, for me as a sports fan that you can watch on a Saturday morning. I was listening just this past week to the Fox Sports postgame show after, I don't know what game they covered, but the whole crew was there, and former head coach Urban Meyer as well. And he said when he was the head coach at Ohio State that there would be no pads this week because the next thing they'd be hitting is someone in maize and blue. There's so much history and rivalry and passion that goes into not just the players but also the fans. And there's going to be 110,000 people jumping up and down in Ann Arbor on Saturday. And I can't wait to see my Michigan Wolverines absolutely destroy the Ohio State Buckeyes. With that, I'm Parker Gurash from the Varsity Sports Show.
HD Radio is here for KDUS AM 1060. Check out your favorite shows and games on 100.7 KSLX HD2.
The Angry Crab Shack in Tempe. With an experience so good it remains indescribable, with something for every seafood lover. Try one of their amazing custom seafood boils, sandwiches, appetizers, and salads. Angry Crab Shack Tempe is located east of I-10 on Warner Road, 480-674-3847. The Angry Crab Shack in Tempe. Come ready to eat. Hey guys, Vince here. I'd like to introduce you to my friend Eric Perry. He owns Eco Roofing Solutions. They're local and a big supporter of high school sports all over Arizona. Yes, they're statewide.
A little bit about me and Eco Roofing Solutions and what we're about. I'm a third-generation roofer here in Arizona, and I've been doing this for 25 years.
Call Eric and his team at Eco Roofing Solutions, 480-695-7736, and they'll give you a fast, free, no-nonsense estimate. Tell them Vince sent you.
Hi Varsity sports fans, this is Sykora. Make sure you stay tuned for our halftime where we break down different highlights from sports locally or otherwise. So plenty of entertainment and content coming your way if you stick around with us. What I personally think is cool about our halftime show is we cover different sports, maybe some you might not expect, and a variety of different content, of course, high school football, and maybe some professional stuff such as NFL highlights from the previous week.
Ready to bring KDUS AM 1060 into your home with Alexa?
Hi, I'm Alexa.
Download the KDUS AM 1060 skill and enable. Then say, Alexa, open KDUS AM 1060.
This is where I start my day.
Back to the Varsity Sports Show, AM 1060 KDUS Arizona. Spike just tapped the nav. We're sitting here telling stories. We don't even know there's a show going on. We're just telling stories of the rivalry here. Thank you. So no, keep talking, Ag. But some of the great Sun Devil players, great Sun Devil teams through the years that have been part of this rivalry, and we're privileged to be joined by another one of those greats. He was here from 87 to 91. His name is Kelvin Fisher. Guys, if you've been here more than 30 years in Arizona, you remember this guy. He was just one of those guys that packed his lunchbox and went to work every day, and he was one of the great ones. Good morning, Kelvin. How are you, sir?
I'm doing great. How about you?
Good. Vince here, joined by Knapp and Spike. You remember those guys?
Yeah, I remember Knapp and Spike.
Fishbone.
What's up, Spike?
What's up, man?
Tails, baby. Double tails.
Oh, my God. Look at that. The publication, the newspaper you guys started here. Man, okay. So, Kelvin, you were part of kind of the tail end of that streak where U of A had ASU's number. I know you guys don't like to say U of A. I have to say it. But part of it that had ASU's number for something to the tune of 9 consecutive wins. You helped to break that streak in 91. The 91 game, it was Larry Marmie's final game as the coach at ASU. I was at that game. What do you remember about that game?
Oh, man. It was fun, definitely, because I just remember in '80s, my freshman year, we tied U of A.
Yeah.
And 24-24. We were winning the game. We fumbled a snap on the punt, and then the next 3 years we lost. So that was my 5th year, and we won that game. But that week of practice, it was just different. I mean, I remember like the intensity was really different, and Larry just, we never called them U of A either. We always called them the team down south.
Yeah.
So for that whole week, it was a really intense practice. I mean, it was a couple, scuffles at practice, and guys was really into it. And I remember telling Darren Woodson like on Friday at the hotel, hey, we're gonna beat these guys' ass this week, man. The week of practice was just different.
Yeah.
I mean, it was really different, and that's the one thing I remembered. And then going into the game, and just, I thought we just was so much more physical than those guys from the first snap, and I just knew, this streak is about to stop today, and it actually happened that way. So that's the one thing I remember is just that real intense practice we had. I remember as a young player, everyone's involved in rivals in high school, and the hallways are painted, and there's signs everywhere. But I just remember my freshman year, like, practice was different that week.
Yeah.
And I was on scout team, and I'm talking like, and we had a really good defense that year, and it was, those guys were blowing us up, and hey, go harder, and I just, that was the first thing that was taken. And I remember my senior year, I felt like our practice was the same way.
Yeah.
It was just really intense and physical, and guys got after it. So it transferred to the field.
So joined on the line here by Sun Devil football great Kelvin Fisher, who was a running back back during the Larry Marmie era, and helped break the streak. In 91, they won that game. Knapp, I have to ask you, what was so special about Kelvin Fisher? What do you remember about Kelvin?
That he was the best runner in the Pac-12.
Yeah.
Best rusher.
Yeah.
And a total all-around great athlete.
There's a myth, and it's probably true. I read this story where you wouldn't do a press conference without giving praise to your offensive line. You went out of your way to praise those guys in front of you. You don't see that a lot anymore. What made you do that?
Well, my high school coach always told me, he said, "You're a great runner. Yeah, but you'll never be." How did he say it? He said, "You're a good runner, but you're great because you're the guys up front." And I always felt that way, is that if they didn't get their blocks, I can't make the run.
Yeah.
So I always felt they never got any glory for what they did. And so when I went in a press conference, I always felt like those 5 guys should be with me, and they should have the opportunity to answer some of the questions. So that's where it started for me.
Joined on the line by Sun Devil football great Kelvin Fisher, was here from 87 to 91, and now works in personnel. I believe you're with the Pittsburgh Steelers, long time, right?
Correct.
Yeah. So thank you so much, Kelvin, for joining us here on the Varsity Sports Show. And go Devils.
Go Devils. Let's get that team down south.
There you go. It's amazing. You leave and you're gone for 30 some odd years, and you still root for your old team. I mean, isn't that something? Guys like Kelvin take time out. He's been in the NFL for years and years and years, working in personnel. Now he's back home in Pittsburgh. You said he was one of the Pennsylvania greats, right, Spike?
Yeah, that Cush started that pipeline from Pennsylvania, and Fishbone continued that great tradition.
Love it. Love it. We've got some amazing content from our team. More rivalry talk here on Rivalry Week. Take it away, Aaron.
Welcome back to the Varsity Sports Show. I'm Dorian Zavala, and since this is Rivalry Week in college football, we're going to talk about one of the biggest rivalries in college sports, Alabama and Auburn. Rivalries in sports have always captivated fans, creating a sense of excitement and anticipation. One of the most storied college football rivalries in the country is the showdown between Alabama and Auburn. This bitter enmity, known as the Iron Bowl, has spanned over a century and still garners the attention of all sports fans, not just in the state of Alabama. The rivalry between the Crimson Tide and the Tigers dates back to their first meeting on February 22, 1893, a game which Auburn won 32-22. In the early years, the rivalry was fueled by close geographic proximity of the two universities, as well as a desire to establish themselves as a dominant football program. The intensity of the rivalry began to rise in the late 40s and early 50s when the two teams began competing for conference titles, and it has only grown exponentially since then. The Iron Bowl has had some thrilling games in its history, but two recent dates have etched in the fans' memories. November 30th, 2013, the game known as the Kick Six, where Auburn returner Chris Davis returned the missed field goal 109 yards, giving the Tigers the walk-off win and eliminating the Tide from the college football playoff.
All right, here we go. 56-yarder. Does not have the leg. And Chris Davis takes it in the back of the end zone. He'll run it out to the 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50, 45. There goes Davis. Oh, my God. Davis is going to run it all the way back. Auburn's going to win the football game. Auburn's going to win the football game.
The other, the Cam Newton game, where he led the Tigers back from a 24-0 deficit, ensuring their place in the championship game. The rivalry between Alabama and Auburn is a testament of the passion and fervor that sports can generate. Since its inception, we have witnessed countless unforgettable moments, and we can only wait and see what unforgettable moments this year's version will provide. For Varsity Sports, I'm Dorian Zavala.
Hello everybody and welcome to the Florida Sports Update. My name is Bennett Solomon, and it's Rivalry Week across the country in college football, and the Florida Gators will face their longtime in-state rival, Florida State. Florida State is a top 5 team in the country, but the Gators will have home field advantage tonight with a sold-out crowd watching in the Swamp. Head coach Billy Napier said in his press conference Monday that this is a special opportunity for this program to play in one of the biggest rivalries in college football.
One of the more historic rivalries in all of college football, and I think it's a privilege to be an opportunity of that, for not only our players but the entire organization. This is a game that matters 24/7, 365. We're certainly excited about being in the Swamp Saturday night, sold-out crowd. I think that's 5 straight for Gator Nation, so we're very thankful for that.
Last week, the Seminoles came out with a win and Florida came away with a loss, though both teams suffered blows to their most important players. Florida State quarterback Jordan Travis suffered a season-ending knee injury in their game against North Alabama, and Gators quarterback Graham Mertz suffered a season-ending shoulder injury against Missouri. Both teams will now resort to their backup quarterbacks with major stakes on the line. Florida State is still fighting for a playoff spot, while Florida needs one more win to become bowl eligible. Gators wide receiver Ricky Pearsall said it's time for the Gators to come out with a win.
Inside that locker room, I think there's just a fire burning for us, just because we need to get a win. It's about that time. It's due time to get a win for us and for the university and the program. And I think there's not a better week to do it than this week, especially against these guys. So I think we're all excited for that opportunity, first and foremost, with all the other things, all the extra things going behind it. But, yeah. Kickoff for tonight's game is at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. That's your Florida Sports Update. I'm Bennett Solomon.
Welcome back to the Varsity Sports Show, AM 1060 KDUS Arizona. Vince, Knapp, and Spike. I kind of like the ring of that. We should solidify this partnership. Maybe get some NIL money involved so we can boost our show a little bit. I don't know. What do you think, Knapp?
I can't afford it.
I don't know. I've heard stories. So when we come back from the break, guys, we are going to be joined by another ASU football legend. His name is Jeff Van Raaphorst, and he's going to have some stories for us. He's been a broadcaster. He's been covering the team as an analyst for, since I was here on the coaching staff 25 years ago. So, and he's also the MVP of the Rose Bowl in 1987. So stick around, guys. We'll be back here on the Varsity Sports Show live from Mountain America Stadium in the press box. We'll be back. Go Varsity.
Need social information about KDUS AM 1060? Try KDUS1060.com, at KDUS AM 1060 on Twitter, and Facebook.com/KDUS AM 1060.
Hello, sports fans. This is Dick Stockton, and you are listening to Arizona's home of youth, high school, college, and you, the Varsity Sports Show on AM 1060, KDUS, Arizona.
Hey, local businesses, join the Varsity Sports Show and promote your business on our weekly radio show and game live streams. We have several options to promote your business affordably and reach our incredible audience. Call, text, or email us anytime if you'd like more information on joining our team. The Varsity Sports Show will work hard to promote your business through our audio and video platforms while also promoting all of our young people. 480-779-9437 or email us at varsitysportshow.com.
The hottest show covering Arizona high school football, Varsity Live. Do you want to hear from players of the week and our own analysts covering all of varsity sports games? We bring you pre-game previews and post-game reports every single Friday night, wrapped up all in one show called Varsity Live. Tune in at Varsity Sports Show on YouTube, Fridays at 6:30 p.m. MST for pregame and 10 p.m. MST for postgame.
When you think of family restaurants and sports bars, think Bonfire. Bonfire is part of the Tempe landscape, supporting local schools. Join the Bonfire Booster Club Challenge. Mention Corona del Sol, Desert Vista, Marcos de Niza, Mountain Point, or Valley Christian, and that school's sports program will earn loyalty points. The winner after football season will earn a fundraiser at Bonfire. Come for the food and fun, support the community. Bonfire, open every day east of I-10 on Warner. Show your game ticket all day Friday and Saturday and get 15% off. 480-306-6801.
Your caddy, Ray Adams, takes you beyond the 18th hole on Saturday mornings with Great American Golf from 6 to 7 a.m. on KDUS AM 1060.
Welcome back to the Varsity Sports Show, AM 1060, KDUS Arizona. Vince DeLisio joined by Knapp and Spike Lawrence live atop the Sun Devil Stadium field, now called Mountain America Stadium, for a show. And it's Rivalry Week, and throughout the show we'll be featuring Sun Devil heavyweights that played football here that are just iconic with the history of the program. And we're joined by another one, longtime color analyst for Sun Devil football, and he also just happened to be the MVP of the Rose Bowl in '87. His name is Jeff Van Raaphorst. Jeff, good morning. Vince, Knapp, and Spike here.
Hey, Vince, how you doing? Hello, Knapp. Happy belated Thanksgiving. You too, Spike.
Thank you, Rapper. Happy Thanksgiving.
We're just having a great time up here, and you happen to call in, and so we're so excited to have you here, Jeff. So what we wanted to focus on with you, first of all, just briefly, talk about that 86 season, the end of the season, where you guys were obviously, highly ranked. You're going into that game. You guys are ranked number 4 in the country. You're 9-0-1, and U of A played a bit of spoiler. What was the vibe? What happened in that game?
I think for us it was a situation where we got caught looking ahead. We had beat Cal to lock up the Rose Bowl, and the week before, and I think, again, guys were ready for the game. But, the Territorial Cup, I think Coach Dillingham said it well, the second season, and, you've really got to be dialed in. I think we were a little bit loose.
Yeah.
We certainly didn't play as well as we could have. And, the Territorial Cup is just one of those games where crazy endings happen. There's always the spectacular play. It seems like every couple of years, and I'm on the spectacular play list, but probably on the negative side when Chuck Cecil, who I played against in high school, and Knapp, was there, and he knows it well. We've lived this over together a couple of times, but what's funny is about that story is though Chuck Cecil, when I first started playing quarterback, was one of the guys I threw an interception to in high school, and I was laughing. And so then, later on I had thrown him one in college. So tough loss, great finish for that season in the Rose Bowl, obviously, but Territorial Cup memory.
It's interesting because I looked at Spike, and 5 minutes ago he said, don't ask him about Chuck Cecil. So you actually did it for us. But anyway.
But you asked about the game, so come on.
I did ask about the game, so I'm sorry. Yeah, I did.
That's what you led with, too, Vince.
I know. Isn't that something? I'm sorry. I had to because you guys had such a great team that year. And, and I was a GA 10 years later, and they compared us to you guys, except you guys came in and you won the Rose Bowl. And we unfortunately didn't. But it was still, it was an amazing season nonetheless. And it was a really good U of A team that you guys played that year. Don't forget that. I mean, they were ranked 14th in the country going into that game and only had 2 losses on the year. So definitely a big moment for them. What I wanted to focus on here, and Knapp talked about it briefly during the break. Talk about that offensive line, Knapp, that Jeff had blocking in front of him.
That's in the good old days when we used to really pressure recruiting in the state of Arizona.
Yeah.
And we had an all-Arizona offensive line to block for Jeff. And I bet you he'll tell you the same thing. That was the greatest offensive line in our history.
Would you agree, Jeff?
Yeah, I don't think there's any doubt about that. And I don't know. I've played around with over the years. You assign metrics and points to NFL starts, but things like that. If you just look at size, if you look at versatility, if you look at character and toughness, I think that line had it all, right? Randall McDaniel, NFL Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
Danny Villa played, in the league for a long time, but in my mind, it really was anchored by Kevin Thomas. And, Kevin Thomas came out of the Tucson area. His dad was a miner, and he just embodied that toughness and really set the example for everybody. And then let's not forget Todd Kalis, our other guard, who played, in the NFL and had a long career at the Steelers. Oh, and then there's a small guy on the line at 6'8", 320 pounds, Jim Warren. So
wow.
my first year starting at ASU, only one of those guys played a little bit, and I was, they kept getting bigger and stronger and faster. And Knapp, remember Todd Kalis he played tennis and football. I mean, he had great feet.
Wow.
So we just had to get him in the weight room. But Knapp, that was that old weight room, remember, where it was basically where Snooze is, right next to Postino. So it wasn't that whole building. It was half of it. It was basically Snooze.
Wow.
Yes, I remember.
So,
my gosh.
Yeah, Knapp, talk about first of all about Eloy, the city of Eloy, and you talk about outscoring the U of A.
Oh, then that's something I'm very, very proud of. I come from Eloy, Arizona, and I immediately became great friends with the superintendent of schools while I played there, and so I started a booster club for them and really was active with the players. And I didn't work for the schools, so I was able to work them out in the summer.
Okay.
And I can remember having them take the ball under a goal post and on one leg hop to the other end and then turn around, put the goal post on the other. We never had a knee or ankle injury in the 3 years that we won 3 state championships in a row.
Now, this was a couple of years before Jeff's time, but the Malone brothers and what they mean to ASU history, and those guys are Eloy guys.
Enormous guys. And
Art and Ben, yeah.
Yeah, I remember my favorite U of A game ever was when Eloy beat the U of A. Between Paul Ray Powell, a kicker, and a safety, and also at the same year that he led the nation in scoring.
Yeah.
And nobody from ASU knows this. It's not pinned on the wall or anything.
Yeah.
But he led the nation in football scoring, then put on a baseball uniform for Bobby Winkles.
That's big.
And won the national title and was College Player of the Year.
That's
out of Little Eloy, Arizona.
Eloy, Arizona.
Yeah, and he played with Art Malone.
Yeah.
Larry Shorty. Then came Benny along, Larry Shorty. Eloy, I think, has turned out more players per capita than any high school in the United States to the NFL.
Jeff, I have to ask you, in the last 10 years, because you've been in the broadcast booth for many years now, the last 10 years, what's your favorite ASU U of A game? Last 10 years.
I think probably Todd Graham's last year. They were, had back-to-back losing seasons. And they had a huge comeback, if I remember right. I think they were down 28-6 or something, and they outscored them by 28 points the second half, and they really did a nice job. Khalil Tate went down. Todd was able to get his last win, and he really, I thought Todd really grasped it quickly, what the rivalry means. A lot of coaches come in and say that, but I thought for his part, Todd really did a good job of understanding it. And so that was one that steps out to me because it really meant something. Obviously it wasn't enough to keep his job, and he was replaced by Herm Edwards, but it was a nice win for Todd and that group coming back. When you outscore your opponent 28-6 in the second half, that means a lot.
Wow. Jeff Van Raaphorst, 1986-87, January 1st, 1987, was going to live on in the hearts and minds of ASU Sun Devil fans. He is the last Rose Bowl MVP from Arizona State University to play in that to represent the Pac, since we're leaving the conference after this year. Jeff, thanks so much for joining us. You guys obviously can hear Jeff and Tim Healy every Saturday covering ASU football for many, many years, and looking forward to circling back with you down the road. Thanks again, Jeff.
Hey, thanks for having me on, and you guys got two great Sun Devils leading the charge with Knapp and Spike, so thank you guys for hosting it and embodying this Territorial Cup, Knapp.
Awesome. Look at that. All right. Snapper. Guys, we're going to take a break here. We're going to talk a little Territorial Cup history with our old friend Tanner Tortorella, a member of our broadcast team. Aaron, take it away.
What's going on, guys? It's Tanner Tortorella from Varsity Sports, and it's that time of the year again for the state of Arizona. ASU versus U of A for the Territorial Cup. Now, Arizona actually won last year, breaking ASU's winning streak in that game to 5. Now, Arizona has a chance to do something they haven't done in over 10 years, and that's retain the Territorial Cup. The last time the Arizona Wildcats won back-to-back years against ASU was November 28th, 2009. In that game, Arizona was able to squeak past the Sun Devils, winning 2017. In that game, Arizona actually had a 14-3 lead heading into the fourth quarter. The Wildcats were being led by future Super Bowl MVP Nick Foles. Despite being down 14-3 in the fourth quarter, facing a future NFL starter in Foles, that did not deter Arizona State from mounting a comeback, as in 12 minutes in the fourth quarter, Danny Sullivan was able to find Kyle Williams on this touchdown pass.
Effective, dangerous pass complete. Williams up the near sideline to the end zone. Touchdown, Sun Devils.
That helped Danny Sullivan finish the night 14-28 passing on 168 yards for 2 touchdowns. The second touchdown came later with around 2 minutes left as he found Kyle Williams again, who finished that game with 9 receptions and 130 yards with 2 touchdowns. Williams would later go into the league playing for the 49ers, Chiefs, Jets, and Broncos, but even after a masterful performance for the first 59 minutes, what sticks most from this game is what happened in the last minute. ASU's defense was able to get a stop with Arizona with about 1:03 left in the game, with Kyle Williams back to return. However, Kyle Williams would actually muff the punt return, allowing Arizona to recover, putting him in the field position for the game-winning field goal as time expired. Alex Zendejas was actually the one to hit it through, which is pretty ironic, as in the next year, ASU would win based on an Alex Zendejas miss in double overtime. This Saturday adds another chapter to this historic rivalry, and I'm excited to see how it turns out. I've been Tanner Tortorella of Varsity Sports, signing off.
Thank you for listening to the Varsity Sports Show, where our mission is to empower education and enable dreams, creating an unmatched platform to showcase talent both in front of and behind the microphone in radio, television, podcast, and live streaming. The Varsity Sports Show, still your home for youth, high school, college, and you in Arizona and beyond.
AM 1060 KDUS Tempe Phoenix and KSLX HD2 Scottsdale Phoenix.
Hey folks, J.R. Lambright here, special field correspondent for the Varsity Sports Show. Join me every Saturday from 8 to 10 a.m. Pacific for JR's Texas Tales, where I share stories of Texans who triumphed over adversity and gave back to their local communities. Tune in for a bit of gritty edification on KDUS AM 1060, Arizona.
The Angry Crab Shack in Tempe, with an experience so good it remains indescribable, with something for every seafood lover. Try one of their amazing custom seafood boils, sandwiches, appetizers, and salads. Angry Crab Shack Tempe is located east of I-10 on Warner Road, 480-674-3847. The Angry Crab Shack in Tempe. Come ready to eat.
Hey, this is Sophie, and you're listening to my dad, Vince. Dad, you owe me $20 now.
AM 1060 KDUS Tempe Phoenix and KSLX HD2 Scottsdale Phoenix.
This program is paid for by the Varsity Media Foundation, a 501c3 nonprofit educational organization, and its partners.
You're listening to the Varsity Sports Show, home of Arizona's youth, high school, college sports, and you, empowering education and enabling dreams, right here on KDUS AM 1060 in Arizona. And now, welcome to the Varsity Sports Show.
Welcome back to the Varsity Sports Show, AM 1060 KDUS Arizona. When you hear that intro, it's for none other than Kyle Metallica Murphy, and a former, Sun Devil great. He'll always be great here. His picture is in the tunnel, for God's sakes. Before we bring him on, Spike, you had a quick mention about someone else important to Sun Devil football history.
Yeah, with talking to Van Raaphorst for that 87 Rose Bowl team, I have to mention that my sister was the captain of the Palm line for the Sun Devils in 1987.
High praise.
Shout out to Vicky.
Yeah, you guys get along?
We do, get along great.
Okay. Go ahead, Nap.
And while we're talking about my daughter, she also won the national dance contest of all dancers in the United States while she was at ASU.
Amazing. What was it like having a successful dancer in the family?
She was it was great for my daughters. She taught them every year. Just had a great dance studio in Ahwatukee, and dance has been a big part of her life.
Amazing. Well, there you go. Shout out to Vicky. So, all right. Well, joining us on the line, Sun Devil great offensive lineman here during the Bruce Snyder era, 93 to 97. His name is Kyle Murphy. Good morning, Murph.
Good morning. How are we doing?
Good. So Kyle Murphy played here. Obviously, you guys know Murph. Murph is now a high school football coach. He's the head coach. Is it Pacifica High School in Orange County?
Yeah, Pacifica High School in Garden Grove.
Okay.
There's Pacifica and Oxnard. That is not us. So, my first year just got done. The first year of being a head coach. Record wasn't great. Overall, the kids are great. A lot of community support, a lot of school support. So, headed in the right direction.
Kyle was one of those guys. When I was a grad assistant here, I worked with the offensive line, and I always tell this story. I was always afraid because my responsibility was to grade players every week during, and practice after games. I would grade them. I was always afraid to first of all, I used to use Kyle's, we would test the O-lineman, and I would use Kyle's test as the answer key when I would grade the other players. That's how thorough he was. I mean, we're talking like there were no eraser marks on his paper. It was like clean, and he never changed answers, nothing. But I was always afraid to give him his test results back because Kyle was one of those guys that would always ask why. And Kyle, do you have players like that?
We do. There are always, particularly I think in this generation more so than even when I played, because of the internet and their ability to find information.
Yeah.
They want to know why they're doing what they're doing. There's very few that are okay with, we do it my way. It's my way or the highway type stuff, right? They want to know the why behind things. They want to understand so that they can be a more complete player and that it makes sense to them. And that's, for me, just who I am from a personality. I always, kind of push back so that I understand, and I want to be proven why things are what they are. And that was the case with my grade. And a lot of that came from, when I played, I could recount the plays I didn't do well. I knew the plays I did do well. So when I looked at my grade sheet, that's what I anticipated to see. And if I didn't, then there were always questions.
Yeah, it made me nervous.
Well, you and I had quite a few discussions about why you were wrong and I was right. That
yeah, of course. Anyway, but we got along. Great. So anyway, yeah. Kyle's a great friend. So Kyle, so let's take a different perspective. You were here when Coach Snyder was the head coach. One at a time was the mantra, and that 96 game. The 96 game, it was a great game, first of all, and came away with a big win. Taking the O-lineman's perspective, what do you remember about that game?
The first quarter, we didn't do anything. We kind of sputtered offensively for the majority of the quarter. I'm almost positive. I think Pat Thompson got thrown out in the first quarter.
And Glenn Gable too.
Quarter.
Yeah.
Well, Glenn was thrown out at the fourth quarter, into third, fourth. Pat was thrown out early. So yeah, we ended up losing because Glenn was playing right. So Pat got thrown out, then Glenn was playing right guard, and then Glenn got thrown out. So the first quarter we didn't do much, and then Terry scored early in the second, and then that kind of opened up the floodgates for us in terms of. I think we needed that first score to feel confident. And overall, up front, we didn't feel like they could stop us. We felt like, all five of us were playing at such a high level together that, there wasn't anything that they were going to do to stop us from being successful.
I remember a couple of touchdowns that got called back in that game. Despite winning that game 56-14, it should have been 70-14. Do you remember those penalties?
Yeah, I think it should have been 77.
77, okay. Juan had one too, I think, didn't he? Yeah.
Yeah, so Juan got called for a holding on our flea flicker, our reverse flea flicker.
Yeah.
That was one. Jake threw a pick in the end zone. And after that, that's when Glenn hit Greer, and that's how he got tossed. And there was another penalty, I think on another catch by Keith that brought us back. So to me, we were red zone-ish or would have scored. I think we left probably 3 touchdowns on the field that day.
Yeah, you guys were pretty upset about that, I remember. So
yeah, I mean, if you look back and you look at Juan, what they called Juan for, I don't think it was holding at all.
Yeah.
Jake knew that the one he threw in the end zone, he was trying to get it to Steve Bush, our tight end, and ended up, Arizona made a good play. We were just frustrated because we wanted to put obviously as many points as possible up on the board. And then I do also remember in that game, the fourth quarter, we didn't throw it. So we had over 400 yards rushing. We didn't throw it in the fourth. And our second team, O-line and backs, I think they ended up scoring one of those touchdowns.
Yeah.
So, overall, it's a great team win. And then up front, so many guys got to play, and, it was a dominant performance for us.
Joined on the line by Sun Devil great offensive lineman Kyle Murphy, who maybe you guys know some people, but Kyle should already be in the Hall of Fame. Who makes those decisions, for gosh sakes? If I had a vote, he'd have gotten my vote about 20 years ago. Kyle, I know you don't necessarily care about that stuff, but you were the anchor of one of the greatest teams in Sun Devil history.
Yeah, I think it would be awesome. Like I'm not going to deny being in the Sun Devil Hall of Fame would be awesome. And
yeah,
as I've gotten older, I think it would be more valuable to me than it was early on. Overall, what matters to me most, and I know you know this, is the guys. And
yeah,
I've had some really good conversations lately with some of the guys and what they have shared with me about who I was at that time. Which it was the same thing you just said, that I was an anchor. I never looked at myself that way. I was so kind of like you were worried about giving me my test scores. I was always worried my job was going to be taken. And so
isn't that something?
I was so focused on making sure that didn't happen that I don't know that I realized the impact I was having on other guys because of that mindset.
Well, you also kept Juan in check too. Somebody had to do that, right? I love Juan.
Part of why he and I were so good together was because of that. Because while our foundation were the same, when we play, we are not. In terms of, Juan likes to talk.
Yes, he does.
And so sometimes you got to, rein him in, and it formed a very, very, special bond between the two of us. And, I was fortunate enough to play next to him and call him a brother. And I love that guy. He's amazing.
In our final minute here, Nap's got something for you. Nap, go ahead.
Well, I've observed him for a long time. And today, just listening to him can show you why he'll end up a great football coach. He's a great communicator. He's very unselfish. And all he has to do to really get it to the next level is send a few really good players to the Sun Devil team.
There you go. Constantly recruiting. This guy's always recruiting, Murph. What do you think of that? Yeah.
Well, I mean, I was at a high school CIF championship game last night with my Arizona State hat, my Arizona State shirt. So, yes, I'm constantly recruiting.
Way to represent.
Oh, listen to that.
Right.
Okay, Kyle Metallica Murphy joining us here on the Varsity Sports Show, talking a little 96 ASU and the team down south. Murph, thanks again, and as always, looking forward to circling back with you. We really appreciate it.
Thank you, guys. Have a great day. Go Devils.
All right.
Go Devils.
Go Devils.
Go
Okay,
Devils.
We're going to cut away real quick. We're going to bring you some JR's Texas Tales. Go ahead, Aaron.
Jerry was born in a town bathed in a glow of 1,000 wooden derricks, each adorned with Christmas lights. Surrounded by lush pine forests and vibrant wildlife, he grew up in the heyday of the Gusher age. Jerry's journey began at Kilgore Heights, the public school where he developed an early love for sports, particularly baseball. An encounter with the Yankee legend Mickey Mantle at the school left an indelible mark on the young Texan. However, tragedy struck at age 13 when his father passed away from a heart attack. After high school, Jerry enlisted in the Navy as a corpsman. At Quantico, he became the running doc, encountering Maureen Karen Stallings, a fitness instructor who sparked his interest in running, and Dr. John Benton, who ignited his passion for sports medicine. After an honorable discharge, Jerry pursued the dream of becoming a trainer. Approaching Coach Buddy Humphreys at Kilgore High School, he volunteered his services, paid only in Whataburger and chicken fried steaks. Jerry's dedication never wavered. From making a living at Kilgore Ceramics to a lifetime membership in the PTA, the contributions of Jerry Grafton emanated from the field. Today, at age 75, Grafton, affectionately known as the General, trains the Kilgore College football team. After over 40 years of service to the sport, the General remains undeterred, prepping KC to face Iowa Western in the semifinal round of the NJCAA Championship on December 3rd.
Welcome back to the Varsity Sports Show, live atop the Sun Devil Stadium football field, Mountain America Stadium now. Knapp, you wanted to mention, and Spike, you wanted to mention there's a sports bar now that recently opened that's down in the Ocotillo area of Chandler. It's a pretty big Sun Devil place. What's it called?
It's a great spot.
It's called the Trophy Bar.
The Trophy Bar.
And it's most of the investors are diehard Sun Devils. Tim Holvick is the largest investor in it.
Okay.
And I think it's probably the most impressive sports bar in Arizona at the corner.
Queen Creek and Dobson, South
Creek
Chandler.
and Dobson. And there's like 40 of us that are diehard Sun Devils. They're invested in it. We'd like to invite everybody to come by and just test us one time, and you'll be there for every Sun Devil event you can attend.
We'll be back after the break. Stick around, guys. We got Rudy Carpenter coming up next.
Have you downloaded the KDUS AM 1060 skill for Alexa yet?
Food. Alexa is frustrated. No matter how many times do you ask, the answer is mail, chicken.
Once you're ready, say Alexa, open KDUS AM 1060 to listen to your favorite shows.
APAC is your one-stop source for all your automotive and heavy-duty air conditioning parts, supplies, and equipment. They're family-owned and have been the Valley's go-to for all your auto AC needs since 1982. Whether it's for your everyday or vintage car, commercial, or off-road vehicle or equipment, APAC has you covered. Call APAC, AAPAK, the AC experts at 602-254-1116 and ask for the Varsity Special to get 10% off your purchase. Coaches, the Varsity Sports Show wants to be part of your team in 2023. We have a proven track record of providing the most coverage of your teams with Thursday and Friday night football. We will spotlight your players with multi-camera game broadcasts, pre- and post-game interviews, and segments on our Saturday morning radio show. With over 100 games broadcast in 2022, we will be exceptional for your team. Call, text, or email 480-220-4629 or info@varsitysportshow.com. Hey guys, Vince here to talk about Angel Dentistry. It's where my wife and I have gone for over 10 years, and we trust them with our routine and extensive dental care because they care. Dr. Amber Angel is an Arizona native, born in the town of Miami, and has been practicing in the Valley over 20 years. For general to comprehensive dental services, call 602-788-2008. Located off of Cave Creek Road just north of the 101 in North Phoenix. Angel Dentistry, proud supporters of our young people and proud partners of the Varsity Sports Show.
We'll do what's best for the team, and we'll do what's best for you.
The Rich Eisen Show, coming to you weekdays from 3 to 5 p.m. here on KDUS AM 1060 and KDUS1060.com.
Welcome back to the Varsity Sports Show, AM 1060 KDUS Arizona. You got to love it. We got Rudy on the line, Rudy Carpenter. Rudy, welcome to the Varsity Sports Show. Vince, Knapp, and Spike here.
Thanks for having me on. Appreciate it.
Man, it is so great to have you on. I don't think we've ever had a conversation before, but thanks again for joining us this morning. I hope you realize what you walked into here. We got two of probably the longest tenured supporters of Sun Devil Athletics sitting right in this room. There's a lot of power in this room, and then there's me. So you're talking to some heavy hitters here. Knapp actually wanted to ask you a question. Go ahead, Knapp.
Is your father still alive and well? I sure enjoyed our relationship while you were on campus.
I hear you. Yeah, he's still doing his thing. Thanks for asking.
You bet. Tell him hi for me. I appreciate it.
So,
all right, thanks,
Rudy, what do you remember about these guys, about Knapp and Spike? Did you get close to these guys while you were here?
I mean, I definitely spent time with both guys. I think I've probably spent a little bit more time with Knapp than I did with Spike. But I mean, I just think the best way probably to sum up both of those guys and and sum up their families is probably just loyalty. I think loyalty is a hard thing to find in today's world, and there's just a lot of things going on. But I know Knapp and his entire family have been very, very, very loyal supporters for ASU and the ASU sports programs, not just football, but all of them. And I know that from my perspective and a lot of other people's perspective here at the university and around the valley, that Knapp and his family is synonymous with loyalty and contributing to all of the programs. And I know for someone like me, I'm very, very thankful for that because I played at ASU. I played in a lot of games there. I was very, very fortunate, had a lot of fun, but I also met my wife at ASU who played ASU volleyball and was a starter on the women's volleyball team for all 4 years that she was at ASU. And I know both of us loved our time. Both of us had a great time. We both are still heavily involved in sports. I own and run a football agency where we represent over almost 30 NFL clients. We got 5 coaches, 4 college coaches, 1 NFL coach, and still very much involved in all of that. And my wife is the executive vice president and chief general counsel for the Arizona Coyotes. And so we've been very fortunate to stay in the sports world, in the professional sports world. And both of us, have been able to do that because of our time at ASU and because of the relationships we created while at ASU.
Joined on the line by Sun Devil great quarterback Rudy Carpenter, was here from 05 to 08. You had a couple of pretty good games against the team down south, and one in particular, 2007. You guys came into that game at 9-2, ranked 13th in the country, and it was here in Tempe. You threw a couple touchdown passes. The 07 game, what do you remember specifically about that game?
Well, I mean, look, I was very fortunate in the sense that I think I'm one of the few ASU quarterbacks that got a chance to start against Arizona 4 times in a row. Ultimately went 3-1 against them, with our only loss coming my senior year down in Tucson. And that was super upsetting because I think I would have been one of the only guys to, beat Arizona 4 times in a row. And that was really a huge, huge, huge goal of mine. The 2007 game was an interesting game, and all of the U of A games are weird, interesting games. But the 2007 game was a fun one because we had such a great year. We started off the season 9-0. I think at one point in time got all the way up to ranked 4th or 3rd in the country. And that was a really fun game. It was cold outside for Arizona. It was right after Thanksgiving, maybe a week after, not the normal day after. And then there was some really unusual plays in that game. I had a throw that was a horrendous throw to Chris McGahey, where he made an outstanding catch. Basically, the ball was behind his head. There's a lot of great pictures of that. There was also another play in the game where I threw an underhanded touchdown pass from the 5-yard line that I kind of flipped out there like an option pitch to Tyrese Thompson in the back of the end zone for a touchdown, and ended up being interesting because Tyrese, who's no longer with us anymore, had an accident a few years back and passed. But Tyrese was a hometown kid from South Mountain High School, had a tumultuous time at ASU, couldn't really figure it out to get on the field consistently. But in that game, he had 2 incredible plays. He had a seam that he caught for a huge first down on 3rd down, which was another awful throw that he just made a great play on an awful throw. And then he had another catch, the one I'm talking about, where he caught that ball in the back of the end zone off the flip pass that Dennis Erickson wasn't too happy about, but we made a great play and it worked out.
Amazing. Talking some ASU team down south rivalry games with former Sun Devil quarterback Rudy Carpenter. Rudy, thank you so much for joining us here on the Varsity Sports Show, and looking forward to circling back with you. Appreciate your time and talking about some great memories of some really, really good games.
All right, guys, thanks for having me on.
All right. So, guys, that's something. I mean, it's almost as if it happened yesterday. When you hear about, even when he gets down to talking about how he released the ball and things like that, and paying homage to teammates of his. I mean, that's you spend 24/7 with these guys for 4 years. You're obviously going to build an incredible bond with them, and transcends to the rest of your life. And
amazing how it seems like yesterday when you remember those plays in the game.
It does. Nap, how are you feeling so far? Are you enjoying the show?
Oh, I'll tell you what, it's like being in heaven.
Here we are.
Everything's positive. There's no cats around.
Nothing. Isn't that something? I mean, the fact that all this brought us together. It's just been an amazing morning. So,
just remember, there's a reason we're the largest university in the United States.
Yeah.
Young people love this campus and love to go to school here.
Yeah.
Whether they're football players or golfers or academic phenoms.
Amazing.
We'll take them in.
Guys, we are going to transition to, now, again, we're on the topic of Rivalry Week. We've got one of our very own Josh Jones, who's talking about another big rivalry game. Stephen Buxton as well. Josh is going to present a great little segment on Ohio State and Michigan, big rivalry game. And then Stephen is going to transition to baseball, talk a little Padres-Dodgers. Take it away, Aaron.
The theme is Rivalry Week here on the Varsity Sports Show, KDUS AM 1060. My name is Josh Jones, and with an enormous slate of historic matchups, there are none bigger than the game. The talk all week and frankly all season has been about the number 3 ranked Michigan Wolverines hosting the number 2 ranked Ohio State Buckeyes, with college football playoff implications on the line and a whole lot more. The game means something slightly different to myself this year, as I will be spending the Thanksgiving weekend with my wonderful grandparents from Ohio. It was at the age of 4 when I was introduced to the Buckeye Scarlet and Gray by my stepdad Josh. Quickly, I found myself glued to the television on Thanksgiving weekend watching the Ohio State Buckeyes duking it out with a nameless team from up north, as I was taught. It became annual tradition and inspired my lifelong fandom of Ohio State football. I'd be mistaken without mentioning the commentary my mom provides every year of how loud the thuds on the living room floor are when the Buckeyes find pay dirt, or the sarcastic remarks yelled towards Jim Harbaugh that can be heard throughout the neighborhood. Needless to say, in my household, it isn't the holiday season until the ball is kicked off in the game. Historic hatred, scandals, redemption, tradition, bad blood, elite talent, and national championship implications all play a part in today's matchup. But for my family and those around the world who are part of the tradition, it simply means more. My name is Josh Jones on the Varsity Sports Show, OH.
I'm Stephen Buxton with the Varsity Sports Show. It's Rivalry Week, so I'm going to talk about one that I've been watching my whole life. In recent years, the Padres have tried to make arguments at being the Dodgers' new rival, but they haven't been remotely competitive head-to-head, so it's safe to say the Dodgers are still rivals with the Giants. The matchup between the two has always been competitive, but recently, the Dodgers have had the slight upper hand in the last 11 years since 2013, when the Dodgers started their run of division titles. They have a 107-92 record in 199 games versus the Giants, regular and postseason. The matchup at times has been must-watch TV, but most recently in 2021, when the Giants edged out the Dodgers for the division title on the final day of the season, winning one more game than the Dodgers, finishing off an epic full season race. One guy who has been around for all of it is Clayton Kershaw. Kershaw has had lots of success versus the Giants in his career, with an 18-12 record and a 2.25 ERA. No moment, though, has been bigger for the Dodgers and their fans than when they took out the Giants in the division series in that aforementioned 21 season. Who knows what's to come next in this rivalry? It'll all start up again in April. That's all I've got for today. For the Varsity Sports Show, I'm Stephen Buxton.
James Out West brings NFL, NBA, MLB, and local sports talk to you Monday night starting at 7 on KDUS AM 1060 and the KDUS 1060 app.
The Angry Crab Shack in Tempe, with an experience so good it remains indescribable, with something for every seafood lover. Try one of their amazing custom seafood boils, sandwiches, appetizers, and salads. Angry Crab Shack Tempe is located east of I-10 on Warner Road, 480-674-3847. The Angry Crab Shack in Tempe. Come ready to eat. Hey guys, Vince here. I'd like to introduce you to my friend Eric Perry. He owns Eco Roofing Solutions. They're local and a big supporter of high school sports all over Arizona. Yes, they're statewide.
A little bit about me and Eco Roofing Solutions and what we're about. I'm a third-generation roofer here in Arizona, and I've been doing this for 25 years.
Call Eric and his team at Eco Roofing Solutions, 480-695-7736, and they'll give you a fast, free, no-nonsense estimate. Tell them Vince sent you.
This is Saguaro SaberCat football coach Zach Hill, and you're listening to the home of SaberCat football, the Varsity Sports Show on AM 1060 KDUS, Arizona.
Carving out time in your afternoon for the Doug Gottlieb Show right here on KDUS AM 1060, 100.7 HD2, and KDUS1060.com. Weekdays from 1 to 3 p.m.
Welcome back to the Varsity Sports Show. AM 1060 KDUS Arizona. Vince DeLisio, Knapp Lawrence, and Spike Lawrence high atop Mountain America Stadium's football field. We are looking down on the field in the press box from where I used to sit just not 27 years ago. And just been an incredible morning. Been joined by Sun Devil greats, members of the football team talking about their favorite memories of rivalry week and the team down south and some of those great games. And we've got another one, a great one on the phone with us right now. Guys, you remember J.R. Redmond, one of the great running backs. Yes, legend. Went on NFL fame, won a Super Bowl with the New England Patriots, was teammates with some hack quarterback by the name of, I don't know, you guys might know him, Tim Brady, something like that. Tom
Brady.
Todd Brady, Tom Brady, yeah. JR, welcome to the program.
Hey, how you guys doing?
We're doing good, man. It's good to talk to you. I am so excited. I don't think we've actually had a conversation, you and I, since probably 1996. I might have been, telling you to get to class or something back then. I don't know. But how you been, man?
I've been good. Hanging in there.
Yeah. You just woke up, it sounds like.
Oh, man, did I ever.
Did you even get to bed? You're taking this rivalry game to another level. Were you out celebrating last night in preparation for this game, or yeah?
No, I wasn't.
Okay.
I actually had Bible study last night, and then I just ended up being up late. Yeah. Okay. All
right. Well. So, JR, what we've been doing all morning, first of all, I'd love it for you to talk to the guys sitting to my left here. We got Knapp Lawrence, we got Spike Lawrence. You remember these guys?
Not offhand, no, I'm sorry.
So Knapp and Spike were two of the biggest supporters of Sun Devil Athletics. So you probably maybe didn't know them directly, but behind the scenes, they were very involved in making sure that the program had everything they needed to be successful, and they were part of that. So I wanted to talk to you about one of the great games that you were a part of. Now, obviously, you were here from 95 through 99, but one of the great games that you were a part of was that 99 game here in Tempe. Both teams came into this with a 5-5 record, but what was significant about that game is that you and Delvon Flowers combined for over 225 yards rushing. Tell us about that experience and just being able to really take it to them and run the ball effectively.
Well, it's always a good thing when you get to go downhill and the linemen get to just put their hand in the ground and get after it. And, we had a good day running the ball. The linemen were getting after it. Delvon Flowers, was slicing and dicing.
Yeah.
He kind of has that real smooth way that he runs, man. And so, he was slicing and dicing, and I was doing, what I do. And, we were able to put together a good day. It felt good to just hand the ball off and just run at their face.
Joined on the line by Sun Devil great running back J.R. Redmond. J.R., you're one of the few guys also, at least in recent history, that started both ways. In particular, one game, you out of necessity, Coach Snyder called you up and said, "Hey, we need you to start on defense in addition to playing running back, in addition to being a punt returner, kickoff returner." What was that experience like?
Man, that was awesome. It was really, really fun. The guys that have that skill set, that play on both sides of the ball, that can play both ways, they always tend to, the game comes easier to them, and they tend to have an opportunity to make more plays the longer they're on the field. So just getting the opportunity to stay on the field, puts you in a position to make plays. And it's nothing like being able to be on every snap of offense, come off the field for punt team, then walk back out there for defense, and be out there every snap of defense, stay on the field for punt return, catch the ball, return the punt, and wait for the offense to come out. That's just a good feeling. It felt like I was playing Pop Warner football, honestly, because I did it my whole time in Pop Warner and my whole time in high school.
Yeah, and you're doing it in the Pac-10 conference back then. This rivalry, it grew on you pretty quick because you're a Southern California guy, but you stepped into this thing when you saw how big this rivalry was. What did it become to you?
You know what? I didn't get the magnitude of it my first year, my freshman year in '96. I really didn't get the magnitude of it. But after a couple of years of being in college, I realized that this was, a really, really important game. Growing up in Southern California, when you think of rivalry, you think of, USC and UCLA. So being a Southern California kid, I didn't realize the depth of the rivalry in Arizona until after my freshman year. I realized, man, there's some real hate involved with this thing right here.
yeah, that's an understatement of the year right there. Wow, amazing. Yeah. Joined on the line by Sun Devil great running back, kickoff punt returner, and also a little bit of DB here in his time. J.R. Redmond went on to a stellar career in the NFL and out there doing some amazing things now, a real pillar of the community. J.R., thank you so much for joining us, and we'll look forward to circling back with you.
All right, thank you. Thanks for having me.
All right. J.R. Redmond, another one of the greats. I remember. Yeah, J.R., very quiet guy back then. He is still to this day, but his play just spoke volumes.
Ran hard.
Left it out on the field. That's what you say. What you think of when you think of a guy like J.R. Redmond. Another guy that left it all out on the field every single game is our next guest, and he's actually. Our next to last guest. His name is Keith Poole. Keith, good morning, sir.
Good morning. How y'all doing?
We're doing great. We're doing great. So, Keith, first of all, say hello to a couple of guys sitting next to me, Knapp and Spike.
How you doing, Keith?
Hey,
Hello,
guys.
Keith.
Two of my favorite people. How you doing?
Oh, man.
Two of his favorite people.
We're
Wow.
neighbors.
Yeah, you guys are really?
Yeah, South Chandler.
Wow. Keith's got that NFL money, though, doesn't he?
Oh, yeah.
He's got a great bloodline, too.
He's got, yeah. Come on, Keith. I know what you made.
That was 25 years ago. They didn't pay us like they do nowadays, man.
I know you saved that money. So anyway, Keith Poole, he's been synonymous with training athletes in the East Valley as well. I mean, it's amazing, and what he's done out there and working with the Chandler teams in particular. So, Keith, let's go back to 1996. There's a photo that's been circulating that nobody knows who took that picture, and I know it was, from what I remember, it was kind of a chess match all game long with Chris McAllister, another great defensive back, played down south, and there was just a feeling of relief when you scored and you put those two fingers up. Not the middle fingers, but those four fingers up, and you know, and just let them know, hey, I got this. What was that game like for you?
I'll be totally honest. That was a fun game I've ever been involved with, for a bunch of reasons. You know, we had never beaten. We had lost my freshman, sophomore, and junior year to missed field goals. So it just felt really good when we beat him, and we beat him bad. But you know, Chris made the mistake of, he was quiet the first quarter, and then he started talking, and then that was just. I do not start ever. I've never started talking to people. When people start talking to me, then it's on.
Yeah.
And when he hit me late in the end zone.
Hit you late.
You know, we already had the refs had warned everybody. You're going to get thrown out of the game. And I thought that meant Rose Bowl, you know, first half of the Rose Bowl. So I was as careful as I could be because I wanted to throw the ball at him. If you watch it carefully, I kind of act like I'm going to throw the ball at him. So I just stood up in the air.
Yeah.
Threw the ones up and then said a few things to him.
That's it.
Loved it.
Nap,
iconic.
Keith Knapp's got something for you. Go ahead, Knapp.
Yeah, Keith, what were your statistics in that game at Tucson, which I thought was one of the better played Sun Devil efforts ever?
Gosh, that's a great question. And it's been too long. I've had too many concussions. I can't remember that stuff. I believe I had 3 touchdowns, and stupid Juan got caught for holding. So I think one of those got taken back.
Murph talked about that before. Murph said it should have been 3 more TDs, and Juan unfortunately was responsible for a holding call on. But I mean, linemen are holding every single play. They just picked on him that play. Yeah.
The U of A game for Keith and the Nebraska game for Keith. Huge games for Keith. Nebraska and U of A, both.
Yeah. So you had 3 touchdowns that you remember for sure, and then clutch catches in that game. You had a handful as well. I mean, with you know, our quarterback Jake Plummer's ability to kind of improvise at times and find you. What was that connection like?
Well, that's amazing, especially in college. If you got a quarterback that can do that, improvise, it gets guys open. You know, gives us time to get open. The DB's not watching us anymore. We can make a cut back the other way. So that was huge. And I kind of, after 4 years, kind of knew where he was looking and what to do when he started scrambling. And he stood up there. And there was a couple fun plays that game that I'll never forget.
Yeah. You have a real tight bond with all those guys still. I mean, I wasn't on the team. I was a member of the staff, but I have a tight bond with a lot of those guys. What do you? And I should have asked some of these other guys earlier, but your bond with Pat Tillman and his view of that game, what was that like?
You know, I'm so blessed to be able to play with that team, that school, that year. But the one thing I'm most blessed is that I knew Pat Tillman. You know, I love telling people stories about Pat, and I don't need to embellish them. You know, all the stories are legit and just awesome. To have someone like him in the locker room is just huge. You know, we didn't have that before, you know, the first 3 years I was there. And then we get him, we get Derek Rogers, we get, you know, just the Derek Smith, guys that are 100%. They go all out, leave it on the field.
Yeah.
it was just I love talking about Pat, and I'm blessed to have had him on my team and be a good friend with him.
If you could talk to current and future Sun Devil football players about this rivalry and what it exactly means, what would you say to them?
It is so hard to explain. I'm from California, and I got out here, and I didn't understand it. I understand that you have a rival, and you're gonna want to beat your rival. I'm like, what? After that first year, I'm like, man, people are like fighting in the stands and bringing out knives and throwing.
Yeah, Knapp and Spike too were among those fighting in the stands. I think.
Guarantee you. I think I saw that. Yeah.
We didn't start all of them.
I just, by the time your senior year, it's in your brain that you absolutely hate them. You hate Tucson. I still to this day, when I see a Tucson license plate, I tell my kids, I'm going to crash that car. I'm going to smash that car.
I love it.
That person driving is an asshole. I can tell you right now.
Oh, my God. Okay. All right. Okay. FCC. Here we come. All right. It's a good thing nobody listens to this show, Keith. So, anyway, that's good stuff. Wow. Good stuff.
Yeah.
We're getting you worked up here. They're going to have to suit you out today, for God's sake. Can you still run? I've seen you. You can still run.
I can run. I'll give you 3 good routes, and then I'm done. That's it.
Okay.
3 hard good routes, and then I'm done.
Wow. Joined by Sun Devil great wide receiver, iconic, Keith Poole, who's here at 92-96. And, Keith, thank you so much for joining us. Really appreciate it, man. I am looking forward to having you back, circling back with you. And this is great. Good stuff. Keith, thanks again.
Thank you, guys. Love you guys. Good luck.
Thanks, love you too, man.
Sun Devils. Let's go.
Go Devils. There you go. Isn't that amazing?
Go Devils.
We're not even done with the show yet, guys. When we come back, we're going to be joined by the man, the myth, Coach Kenny Dillingham. Guys, stick around. You don't want to go anywhere. Coach Kenny Dillingham joining us here on the Varsity Sports Show when we come back from the break. Thanks again for tuning in this morning. It's Rivalry Week. We'll be back. Go Varsity.
SB Nation Radio is now Sports Map Radio, keeping sports content fresh and fun. Join us right here on KDUS AM 1060.
Hello, everyone. My name is Bennett Solomon, and I'm a senior journalism student at the University of Florida. I'm thrilled to be joining the Varsity Sports Show, and I'll be providing local sports coverage in Florida. You can find me on Twitter at B_Sale11, and I can't wait to get started.
The hottest show covering Arizona high school football, Varsity Live. Do you want to hear from players of the week and our own analysts covering all of varsity sports games? We bring you pre-game previews and post-game reports every single Friday night, wrapped up all in one show called Varsity Live. Tune in at Varsity Sports Show on YouTube, Fridays at 6:30 p.m. MST for pregame and 10 p.m. MST for postgame.
The Varsity Sports Show is once again proud to partner with Grand Canyon University Club Sports in 2023 and 24. Join us in our coverage of GCU Club Sports on Saturday's Varsity Sports Show and the rest of the week. We'll cover hockey, soccer, baseball, rugby, lacrosse, and more. The Lopes are back on the Varsity Sports Show.
Listener rewards for you with the KDUS 1060 app. Download today to hear all of the national and local shows you love. That's the KDUS 1060 app.
All right, guys, welcome back to the Varsity Sports Show. Vince DeLisio here, joined by ASU head football coach Kenny Dillingham. Coach Dillingham, first of all, I want to thank you for coming back. Last time we spoke to you was last December. We had a chance to get to know you briefly right after you got the job. You're coming up here, just finishing your first season, and wanted to thank you again for joining us.
Thank you. I appreciate y'all having me.
and it's an honor and a privilege.
You know, your reputation is one that you've been somebody that's worked very closely with quarterbacks. That's kind of what you hang your hat on and where you cut your teeth. And while it's every coach's dream to run their own program without stepping on the toes of your staff, do you maybe regret this season not having as much time in the meeting rooms or on the field with those quarterbacks, or are you still heavily involved?
Yeah, I mean, it's just a different role. I'm trying to make sure that the program's heading in the right direction and hire people that you can trust to do a good job. So it definitely is different, and being a head coach is definitely a different role because there's more things that you need to be successful, and I have to go do all those other things.
What's been the biggest adjustment for you to becoming a head coach over that as having been an assistant so far?
Yeah, just all that stuff, all the non-football things that you get pulled to do, that not distract you, but take up your time. So maybe you can't be in the meeting room when you would like to be in the meeting room, or maybe you, didn't watch the third downs before the meeting that night that you're used to watching. So it really puts pressure on you to hire a good staff, have trust in your staff, and have those guys go out and put together, be able to coach and teach things at a high level. Are
there things that you've had to take on that you kind of wish you didn't have to do, and that you could still kind of be a little more, behind the scenes and work specifically with players? But now that you sit in the big chair, there's certain things that, man, I wish I didn't have to do that.
Oh, of course, but I think that's part of year 1, year 2, year 3. I think the longer you're out of place, and once you get your culture established, once you get your feet wet, once you get your bearings, and you get pretty much your program in the direction that you want it to go, which takes 2 to 3 years, then you're not going to be pulled in so many directions, because they're not going to ask a billion questions about every single thing, because everybody knows how you operate. And once we get to that point, it'll allow me, to get back in terms of doing more of what I love, which is getting in the meeting room, getting on the board,
sure,
and truly diving in and coaching.
How would you evaluate this first year?
Yeah, I'm never looking at, I knew going into year 1, I'm not looking at wins and losses as a standard. I'm looking at, did the guys buy in? Do they grow? I don't want to give myself a grade yet. I want to wait and wait until after the portal opens. Wait until see how many guys on our team choose to come back. Because in the current day and age of college football, I think the greatest testament is, do the majority of your good players choose to return? You're always going to lose 1 or 2. It's impossible to not. But do you lose 5 of your good players to the portal? 5 of the players that started for you, or do 4 of those 5 choose to come back and play for you again? And I think that's really going to show me how much the buy-in is of the team, is the percentage of our good players that have the ability to come back, to choose to come back another year, choose to come back here because they believe in the vision of the program, they believe in where we're heading. And I personally think we're going to get a lot of those guys back because they like the direction they're going. But I'll really find that out, when push comes to shove.
Okay, so I did my research, and I went back through the history of Arizona State University football, Arizona Teachers College, the whole 9 yards. You're the only ASU head football coach in program history, that's going back over 100 years, that is born in Arizona, that is a native. Is that important in this particular job? And do you feel that it gives you an edge in understanding this rivalry?
It does, but I think it really gives me an edge because I know I'm going to be here. So I'm not building this thing to win in year 3. I'm not building this thing to win in year 2. I'm building this program to be a consistent winner because it's the place that I want to be the rest of my career. And in today's day and age in college football, you can shortcut a program, which means you can sell out for a year. You can sell out for a 2-year stint in order to win and then go get another job. The issue is there's some repercussions to that. And I'm not going to do that. I'll never do that here. I want to be here. I love this place. So I'm building a program that I believe can be sustained. And sometimes the best structures and the best buildings take longer to build because you work on the foundation so long. And that's really what I'm focused on, is building something that's sustainable for the next 20 years. And I think, so going back to your question, me being from here, that's what allows me to do that, because I want to be here, because it means more to me, because I'm passionate about it. Yeah. It's not just a job that I have that hopefully can lead to another. It is the job that I want.
I grew up here in the Valley as well, just like you, and I was fortunate enough that I worked under Bruce Snyder. I was there 95 to 97 on that staff, and I thought I understood the ASU-U of A rivalry until I worked inside, and then I got a greater understanding of the ASU-U of A rivalry. Why is this rivalry so important to not only to ASU but to the state of Arizona and the rest of the country? Because this is nationally broadcast.
Yeah, I think it's just it's the oldest trophy in college football. One, so it's been going around for so long, and then. Two, it's just most people, who went to either school end up living in Phoenix. It's not like people who go to the school down south stay down south. They move back up here to Phoenix. So there's so much intermingling of the schools. There's houses divided over this game. So I think it's just how close it hits to home, not just figuratively of, we're close, we're 2 hours away. But in reality, how close it hits to home. A family could have a son go there and a daughter go here. And it's like, man, it truly is the game of houses divided, friends divided, family friends divided. And I think that's what makes it the game it is most of the people, a lot of the people live next to or are friends with somebody on the other side of it. And that's what makes it even more intense.
All right, Coach, final question. So, as you know, I'm one that likes to do my research on people, and I've been doing my due diligence, and one way I find out more about people is a lot of times I'll go and I'll check out their social media, see what some of the things they're following, what they're looking at, and some people call that stalking or trolling. I call it doing my research. So I went back to your Facebook page. By the way, you haven't accepted my friend request yet, but I went back on your Facebook page. I went to December 2011, and a couple things. You asked for help with the science class that you were taking at the time. You wanted Newt Gingrich to be president, and you also announced that you were leaving your coaching position at Chaparral High for crosstown rival Saguaro. What's a bigger rivalry, Saguaro-Chap or ASU-U of A?
Definitely ASU versus the school down south, only because that game, Saguaro-Chaparral, hasn't been played as consistently as it had in the past. 10 years ago, 12 years ago, that was an unbelievable rivalry, and it still is today. But when they stopped playing for a few years, it definitely tampered the intensity of that.
Did you get through that science class, and were you disappointed that Newt didn't get elected?
To be honest, I don't remember either of those things at all. I haven't been on Facebook, I don't know, in like 8 to 10 years. That may be the last thing I ever posted on Facebook. But I definitely got through the science class because I did get hired here, so I had to have a degree.
You had to have a degree.
So I know I got through the science class.
Okay, all right. Well, we asked the tough question. So, Coach Dillingham, thank you so much for joining us on the Varsity Sports Show.
Awesome, and thank you for having me. And shout out to Spike and Nap Lawrence, two great Sun Devils. Unbelievable people, just unbelievable representatives of ASU and the Sun Devil community.
Keep him honest, right? Nap, you're getting showered with all this praise this morning. Isn't that something? I mean, just about everybody knew who you were, with the exception of JR, but I think we just caught him too early in the morning. It's
almost an honor that he didn't recognize me. Shoot, a preacher who uses cuss words like that?
Well, no, that was Keith after. Yeah.
Bullshit. It was.
Oh, my God. Okay. All right. Anyway, there's something else we need to address here in my last broadcast for the Varsity Sports Show. There's something else we need to address. I'm kidding, by the way. I'll be back next week, hopefully. Last week, Ray Anderson resigned. Now, as the athletic director, now there's a genuine opportunity here. Nap, what can you do to sell? This university sells itself. Pat Tillman used to say that when we would ask him to host recruits, he would say, I don't want to host recruits. This school sells itself. What can you do to fill in the gap for a potential athletic director to lead this program?
Well, most people that are really talented are talented from age 0 to when they expire.
Yeah.
So obviously you want to get someone who, whatever business he was in, what's his communication abilities? What's this? What's that? And when you think back at the great people in the world, and not just athletics, but everything, they're people led by people that are good in all those characteristics. And one of them is human communication. How you talk about people, how you do this, how you do that, how you motivate people.
I want to thank Knapp and Spike Lawrence. I also want to thank ASU Senior Associate AD of Media Relations, Doug Tamero, for giving us access. Guys, we'll see you next week on the Varsity Sports Show. Go Varsity, beat U of A. Thank you for listening to the Varsity Sports Show, where our mission is to empower education and enable dreams, creating an unmatched platform to showcase talent both in front of and behind the microphone in radio, television, podcast, and live streaming. The Varsity Sports Show, still your home for youth, high school, college, and you in Arizona and beyond.